It's the start of January, and for a lot of you, that means taking on Veganuary or simply trying to have more meat-free days in your week.
But plant-based nutrition can feel like a guessing game. Don't worry, because we've been exactly where you are, and we're going to break it down for you today.
So stick around as we take a deep dive into plant-based protein sources. We'll give our 10 top tips for anybody going plant-based for the first time, and we've got a free high-protein plant-based recipe ebook just for you. Welcome to episode 11 of the Outlifting Lounge. I'm Derek.
I'm Alan, and this is the show all about pride, fitness, and everything in between.
Before we begin, I just want to say that the information we are giving today is intended to help anybody who wants to either eliminate or reduce plant-based products for their diet. We are not trying to convert anybody here.
And although we haven't personally eaten meat for around about 8 years, a lot of our coaching clients do. And what you eat is a personal choice, and we're not here to preach whatsoever.
But because of our own experience, we have seen the common pitfalls of going plant-based firsthand. So we're here to share our experience and make your transition a little easier.
So let's have a chat about our own journey then. So it was back in, well, it was 2017. You said to me, oh, I'm thinking about maybe doing Veganuary. And I was like, what the hell's Veganuary? I'd never heard of it before. So we did then January 2018. We went out on the Sunday night for our last meat meal. We went to a place in Glasgow called the Brunswick. It's not there, unfortunately, anymore. It was one of our favourite places, and we pretty much just ordered everything off the menu, and it was actually quite disgusting.
It was horrible. It was just meat on meat, and then a layer of gravy, and then more meat, and then some cheese.
And we were just sitting at the table sweating with the meat sweats. It was awful.
Actually, when I think back now, because I haven't eaten meat in so long, kind of gives me the ick. It's kind of like when you think about an ex, you get the ick. You get the meat ick.
Take from that what you will.
Yeah. Thinking about that old sausage. Makes you sick.
Makes you sick.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So yeah, on the Sunday was our last meat meal. And then on the Monday, we went 100% vegan. And actually, in hindsight, it was the wrong way to do it, wasn't it? We didn't really have a clue what we were doing, to be honest. And that's part of the reason why we're doing this episode.
Going vegan back then was totally different from going vegan or plant-based now. There's definitely more information available now. There's way more products out there which specifically cater for plant-based diets. And so in a way, people have got it a little bit easier now.
So what was our fears, do you think, about going plant-based?
So the only thing I thought I was going to miss when I went plant-based for the first time was bacon. I used to love a bacon butty, or I used to think that I loved a bacon butty, especially because I went out running on a Sunday morning, long run. I was sweating a lot, and there was just something about a big bacon butty that was so satisfying at the end. It was salty to replace the sweat that I'd lost, and I really wondered how I was going to do without it. And then about 3 weeks after we went plant-based, I walked past a cafe on a Sunday morning, and they were grilling bacon, and the smell was coming out of the vents, and I thought I was going to chunder then and there.
When we first went plant-based, I never thought we would get to the point where we would feel like this about meat. And even though I remember one time we were walking up the aisle in Tesco, and there's a lot of the plant-based products in the same aisle as like the meat and the chicken and fish and stuff. It was like, this is so weird, because like it just didn't feel right walking past those kind of products and thinking, oh God, I really don't want them.
And the thing is, we went plant-based and tried Veganuary back then for health reasons. We saw a lot of stuff about the health benefits of going vegan / plant-based, and we thought, we'll try that. Over time, though, I think the more time there has been since you've last eaten meat, I think the ick increases a little bit. You actually don't miss it as much as you think you're going to, because your taste buds change the longer you go without eating it.
Totally. And I think, like, for us, we thought, oh, we'll just do it for the month, see how we got on. We really enjoyed it, so we extended that to the March. And then we were like, actually, no, this is just our lifestyle now, isn't it? And it was weird, not maybe weird, but the way friends and family reacted to us, like, going plant-based. I remember being scared to tell my dad, which is just something that's just, like, probably more scared to tell him that than I was gay. It's just mental, you know, and it's other people's perceptions.
Just remembered there's that quote from Two Doors Down. It's Anne-Marie when she meets Gordon for the first time.
I can recommend the tuna, Gordon.
It's vegetarian.
As well as gay. Oh, his poor mum.
Gay and vegetarian is poor mum. Oh, it is that mentality.
Homophobia and vegetarian phobia are all in one.
I know, honestly. There is that thing where there is that almost peer pressure to eat meat, and it's everywhere. And when you go away from that and you do your own thing, it's almost like people don't want you to be different. They don't want you to do something yourself, and they'll make little comments or they'll be snide about it. And that really stems from their insecurities about how they eat.
Yeah.
They don't want their worldview to be challenged or their perceptions to be challenged.
Think back when, and I'm sure this has happened to loads of people, when they say, oh, I'm not going to drink tonight, I'm not going to drink this weekend. People are like, why not? It's like, because I don't want to.
I remember, so we're going back a long time ago.
Is this when you had hair?
When I had hair, yeah. So I smoked up until I was about 24, 25, and stopped and found the gym and just got really healthy. But when I stopped smoking, there were so many people that knew I had stopped and kept trying to offer me a cigarette on purpose. And they're like, oh, go on, just have one. It's almost like they want to bring you back in, because if you can successfully stop smoking and they're left behind, it's almost like they fear being left behind.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And again, that is down to their insecurity. It's nothing to do with the changes, the positive changes that you're making in your life.
Yeah.
It's on them. And that goes for so many other things as well, whether it's stopping smoking, losing weight, going to the gym, or...
I find with new clients, if they're maybe prepping meals and then taking it into work, and people are like, oh, what are you eating that for? It's like, because, well, I want to. That's why I'm eating it. Well, I think the point we're making here is that, you know, you might have a fear of making that change because of the way that others will view you. And it's going to happen no matter what. The change you make in your life, you know, what others think about you is none of your business.
All right, RuPaul. I was actually thinking of a Mel Robbins quote.
Go for it.
Just let them.
Yeah.
If people want to take that attitude and that approach to the positive changes that you're making in your life, let them. That's quote Jinx Monsoon. Water off a duck's back. Any other quotes? Anybody else will want to quote here?
If you can't love yourself.
Wow. So it's good to have in your head what some of the benefits of going plant-based are, just for those occasions when people are questioning your choices, so that you know as well what your why is, why you are doing this. It's for you. Let's rattle off some of the health benefits. We'll just bullet point these quite quickly. So health-wise, you've got improved cardiovascular efficiency on a plant-based diet, reduced inflammation, and you've got lower risk of chronic disease. So things like type 2 diabetes, hypertension, and certain cancers have a proven reduction.
Tick, tick, tick. Great reasons to go plant-based.
Yeah. And there's also environmental reasons. Do you want to take some of those?
So environmental benefits, doesn't use as many resources, the carbon footprint is lower, and the amount of land used is much less as well.
I'm going to discuss a couple of animal welfare issues as well. So, you know what? Like, I think there's a lot more science to show that animals are more sentient and cognitive than we give them credit for, and also modern practices within farms. There's a lot of cruelty that happens as well. So cutting your meat intake really helps to stop that.
So another reason to go plant-based is global food security as well. So increasing demands. By 2050, the global population is going to hit around 10 billion. So feeding crops directly to humans rather than processing them through livestock is definitely far more efficient.
Yeah.
And actually, that's kind of underlined by the fact that we already grow enough grain to feed the world, but actually that goes to feeding livestock.
Factory farming as well causes lots of issues. So antibiotic resistance is quite a big one, because about 70 to 80% of all antibiotics in the US and the UK go to animal agriculture. So that is a big worry. The other one as well, which I don't think is on a lot of people's radars, is the pandemic risk, because factory farming just creates a kind of a perfect storm for zoonotic diseases that could then cross over into humans.
Yeah, we don't want another COVID incident.
No thanks. So if you'll pardon the pun, we are now in the meat of the episode, which is about nutrition. So we're going to briefly talk about vitamins, minerals, and supplementation. We're going to have a really good look into plant-based sources of protein, and then we'll finish off with our 10 top tips for anybody going plant-based for the first time. And hopefully we can shortcut some of the mistakes that we made
Yeah.
so that other people don't make them.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about some of the things that need to be supplemented? So some of the essential vitamins that people really need to be aware of on a plant-based diet?
Yeah, so B12 is definitely the big one. You can't get that from foods on a plant-based diet, so you have to 100% supplement it. B12 is essential for nerve function, DNA synthesis, and red blood cell formation, so it's super, super important.
Yeah, it's one of those ones that if you're deficient in B12, by the time you realize that you've got that deficiency, it can be too late. It causes irreversible damage. So people need to be aware of this. A lot of foods nowadays are fortified with B12, which is fantastic, but it's the kind of thing that you need to supplement with. You definitely need to make sure that you're either taking a supplement or that your multivitamin supplement has sufficient levels of B12. So another one is vitamin D3, and this isn't just specific to people on a plant-based diet, but specifically people who live north in maybe the UK, parts of America. This is the sunshine vitamin. And at this time of year, there ain't no sunshine.
No. So another two that should be on people's radar are iodine and selenium, and people that are on a plant-based diet tend to be deficient in those.
The thing is, you don't really need to think about this stuff too much if you have a good multivitamin. So this is not an advert, this is not paid for, but the one that we used when we were in the UK was the Vegan Society's own multivitamin, because you know that you're basically getting everything that you need in that. That's specifically formulated for plant-based diets. That's called Veg 1.
Yeah, that's the one.
And that way you've got that peace of mind of knowing that you're getting those things in your diet.
Yeah.
Well, through supplementation.
Yeah. And multivitamins for anyone is a good idea. You know, it doesn't have to be specifically that one that we've just mentioned, but just taking a multivitamin every day is definitely beneficial.
Yeah. There's plenty of people who are not on a plant-based diet who have B12 deficiency. And there is this misconception that this is just a vegan thing, but it's absolutely not. People need to be aware of these things. People need to be supplementing.
Right, let's talk about omega-3s as well, because they're essential for brain health and heart health. And you can get a really good vegan alternative to those as well.
You can get omega-3s on a plant-based diet, but the problem is that a lot of the plants create ALA, and it's difficult for our bodies to convert that into EPA and DHA that we need. So the only real kind of plant-based source for EPA and DHA directly is algae. And that's where, essentially, that's where the fish get it from. The fish is just a middleman, if you will.
They eat the algae and then...
Exactly. So there are quite a lot of products on the market now. There are algae oils that are super, super high in those omega-3s that you need. So again, shop around, see what works for you. But what I would say about that is make sure whatever plant-based omega-3 supplement you get has EPA and DHA in sufficient levels. Something else that people on a plant-based diet tend to be deficient in is iron.
Yeah, and you should only really supplement iron if you've been recommended by a doctor to do it, because too much iron can actually cause other issues as well.
Yes, that is a very important disclaimer. The reason why people on a plant-based diet can tend to be more deficient in iron is because the iron that is in plants is non-heme iron, which is more difficult for our bodies to absorb. There are actually a couple of factors that will influence this. So there are a couple of things that people on a plant-based diet can make sure they are doing to make sure that they are absorbing more iron from their diet. So the first one is about tea and coffee. So people don't realize this, but tea and coffee directly affect your body's ability to absorb iron. So what you really want to do is to make sure for about an hour, 2 hours before and after you eat, try and avoid tea and coffee because it significantly blocks your iron absorption.
Nutrient pairing is really good because if you pair vitamin C with iron, that actually can increase your absorption by 300%.
But what people really need to remember is that vitamin C is very heat sensitive. So if you're putting ingredients into a sauce, for instance, for vitamin C, if you're heating that up, you're boiling it, you're going to ruin it. You're going to destroy most of the vitamin C. It's going to break down. So it's a better idea to add the vitamin C sources at the end of cooking, like I have done recently with Thai green curry. So once that's cooked up, plated up, ready to go on the table, I will squeeze fresh limes all over our rice and the sauce. And that means that we are getting the full benefits of the vitamin C, and it's helping to absorb the iron from the spinach, which is in our curry.
So why don't we touch on some supplementation for athletic performance?
Yes, before we go through these, what I would say is that we are not pushing anything, we're not recommending anything here, and these next ones, we're not actually saying that you should be supplementing. What we're doing is maybe just making people aware that there can be certain benefits for plant-based diets for people who are going to the gym or people who are training in an athletic setting.
Yeah, we're just giving you the information. You can do your own research and then you can consider if it's good for you or not.
Yeah. So one thing that we do use every day is creatine monohydrate, because there are lots of proven benefits to that.
Our bodies create creatine, but usually just not enough. And a lot of creatine is found in red meat. And obviously, if you're going to reduce your consumption of red meat, then it's maybe something that you want to consider supplementing.
Creatine helps to recycle ATP, which is the main energy currency in the cells in your body. So increasing your creatine intake can maybe help you have more energy and help you have more explosive energy and things like that. So if you're in the gym, having the ability to have a little more of that energy in your body means that you can maybe last a little bit longer. You can last an extra few reps, or maybe you can lift an extra set, and that's where it's going to come in handy.
With creatine as well, recent research has shown that it's actually really good for our brains. It can also help with mood and with focus as well. And you don't actually need to be taking loads of it, like 3 to 5 grams a day is absolutely fine. And we've seen some influencers, inverted commas, recommending 4 times that. But yeah, you don't need as much as that.
No, it's really dangerous, because too much creatine over a long period of time could cause you liver or kidney damage. So we stick to the max 5 grams a day, and we don't go over that. There may be fringe use cases where it's being supervised by a doctor where you can go over, but there was a woman recently popped up on my TikTok feed, and she was recommending that everybody should take 25 grams a day.
What the F?
It's just too much. It's just too much. Like, nobody should be taking that much unless a doctor is monitoring them and telling them to do it.
Absolutely not.
And
Yeah.
even then, I would say you need to get a second opinion from another doctor, because that seems like a
Yeah.
lot to supplement.
3 to 5 grams, either tablet form or powder form, whatever's going to suit your schedule, how you like to take it, whatever it might be, is absolutely fine.
Yeah. And listen, the science might change. Maybe they'll do more research and they'll find actually it needs to be more, or they'll increase the top range. But some random influencer on TikTok does not know that. So do not listen to them. Just listen to the current science on this.
Aye. Okay, the next one we want to talk about is beta-alanine, and that can actually help you with fatigue if you're performing high intensity exercises for like over a minute.
Yeah, it does that by increasing the muscle carnosine levels in your body, and that is what helps to buffer lactic acid. And lactic acid in your muscles is what creates that kind of like burning sensation when you're doing really intense exercise. What I would say about beta-alanine is, though, you have to be careful because you get the tingle. I remember the first time that we tried it, because we read the scientific study which suggested that there might be a specific benefit for plant-based athletes to supplement with beta-alanine. And the first time we tried it, I was like, why have I got pins and needles all over my body?
You rip your skin off.
Yeah, it was like my feet were itchy, they were tingly, it was a weird sensation, and I couldn't figure out why. And then we Googled it and found out that beta-alanine can actually give you paresthesia, which is the technical term for pins and needles.
Yeah, and a lot of people might find when they take their pre-workout that they get that. So if you look at the ingredients, you might find that it's actually in your pre-workout.
The longer you supplement with it, though, you do build a bit of a resistance to it, so that becomes less and less
Yeah.
intense over time.
Can I say something? I actually quite like the tingle.
Weirdo. So right, that is us done talking about supplementation. Let's get into the really big section here, which is about protein.
This is what we struggled with the most when we first went vegan, wasn't it? Like finding good protein sources to supplement, us not having like chicken and meat and things like that again, especially because we go to the gym. I mean, it was tough at first, but we've done a lot of research and we're now going to impart that knowledge for other people.
Impart, I like that word. Yeah, I think the biggest challenge for somebody going plant-based is really balancing your macros is a lot different on a plant-based diet, because when you're eating meat, you have got sources that are 100% or pretty close to 100% protein. And so if you're trying to adjust your carbohydrates, your dietary fats, and your protein, it's a lot easier if you've got 100% sources. With a plant-based diet, you don't really have that though, because the protein sources that we eat tend to either be high in carbohydrates as well as protein, or high in dietary fats as well as protein.
Yeah, what I would say is not to worry about it though, because you just get used to it. You just have to play around with it a little bit more, don't you? And like everything else, once you do it a few times, it just becomes second nature. So don't worry about having to balance the macros.
Yeah. One thing I would say before we get into listing some of the different protein sources is that don't get too attached to one protein source. It is a really good idea to get your protein from lots of different sources. The reason for that is because there are 9 essential amino acids, and they are essential because our body can't produce them. So we need to consume them. And that is the same for any diet. People that eat meat, people that eat a plant-based diet, it's the same. With plant-based foods, some of them will be richer in maybe a few of those aminos and maybe not have as many of the others. So eating different protein sources ensures that your body is getting a really broad spectrum of those essential aminos.
Why don't we talk about some of the sources of protein? So there's loads on the market, like we've mentioned. So what we tend to have is tempeh, seitan, tofu, and then we'll have like legumes. So we're going to have things like lentils, we have peas, we have chickpeas.
The thing is, when we first went plant-based, there wasn't much on the market. There weren't many options. Nowadays, it is different, especially in the UK and the US, because those markets have lots of alternative products. Things like fake meats. You can get like chicken alternatives, pork alternatives. You get lots of different bacons and sausages and things like that. That was not really the case when we first went plant-based. So we did not get used to eating that way. And I'm kind of glad, because a lot of those things tend to be ultra processed. They're okay. I'm not bashing them. They're really, really good for people who are transitioning. They can be good for convenience if you just need something quick, or for just a little bit of variety now and again, but we tend to not really eat them very often.
No, well, maybe to have them like once or twice a month, really.
So you've rattled off quite a lot of the protein sources that we're going to go through just now. So do you want to kick us off with going with what is the one that people probably know best?
Tofu.
Tofu. Well, in general, soy-based products,
Yeah.
of which tofu is the main one.
Yeah, and I think people are scared of tofu, and they don't need to be, because it's maybe because they don't know how to cook it. And believe me, the first time we cooked it, I remember we had it in a griddle pan and we put like salt and pepper on it, and we were like, this is horrible. But it's like anything else. Like once you learn how to cook something like tofu, it is so flavoursome. Don't be scared to experiment, I think, is probably what we're trying to say.
There is so much out there on YouTube. There's different cookbooks. There are so many resources now. Tofu is not to be feared. There are different types of tofu. So you've got silken tofu, you've got firm tofu, extra firm tofu. Silken tofu tends to be quite soft. So that's the one that's used in a lot of Asian cuisine. So if you've had something in Wagamama, for instance, with tofu in it, it's likely been silken tofu. Very, very soft, very silky. And that is also useful for other things. So that can be used in like cake batters and things like that. You've also got then firm and extra firm, which we eat quite a lot of, eh?
Yeah, we do. And there's maybe some misconceptions about tofu as well, because a lot of people think if guys eat it, you end up with breasts.
There is a lot of misinformation out there about soy in general, but particularly tofu. And I think a lot of this has been started by the meat industry lobby.
Absolutely. Yeah, just putting the fear factor in there. I mean, we eat tofu probably, no, not probably, every day we have tofu. I quite like my tits.
Look at this rack. I'm like Pamela Anderson here.
And I think it surprises people actually how much tofu we eat.
Yeah. One of our friends was over visiting us and actually asked us that because they'd heard these scare stories about tofu containing high levels of estrogen. And it is absolute nonsense. The type of estrogen that's in tofu is not bioavailable to humans. It's phytoestrogen. It can't be converted in our bodies to human estrogen.
Yeah.
It does not cause you to grow boobs. It does not cause you to feminize. It is nonsense. If it were the case that tofu and soy products feminized you and raised your estrogen levels, two things would be true. First of all, the entire population of China who have been eating soy products for thousands of years would all be walking about with these huge racks. The second thing is that there would be no need for people who are transitioning male to female to go on HRT because they would just eat lots of soy. It is nonsense that soy feminizes or increases your estrogen levels.
Can you tell Derek's quite passionate about this?
I'm very passionate about
You're
it.
really bouncing off the couch there.
I know. I think there's just so much disinformation out there,
Yeah.
and it's the same lobby, the same people who are going to the EU and successfully lobbying to get things like words like milk banned unless it's dairy, or burgers. You can't call a plant-based burger a burger now because, well, in some territories, because of this successful lobbying. And it's the same thing. These scare stories are coming from these sources.
Yeah. We're digressing a wee bit. I think that's a whole other podcast on its own.
Well, not to get too political, but this is important to impart this information because people believe this nonsense.
Absolutely.
And it's absolute nonsense about soy. So here's the other thing, like there's all this misinformation out there about soy, but soy is proven to reduce the risk of some types of cancer. So like prostate and breast cancer, soy reduces it. Meat, on the other hand, so some forms of meat are now well proven by different scientific studies to be a carcinogen. And I think red meat's actually classed by the World Health Organization as a carcinogen.
Yeah.
That's me done.
Right, is that you off your soapbox?
Yeah.
Other soy products, tempeh, soya milks, soya yogurts, and TVP, which is basically textured vegetable protein.
Yes. Tempeh is lovely. That's probably my favorite. Really delicious. It's Indonesian. It's got quite a nutty flavor to it. Really nice and quite easy to get in the supermarkets now as well in the US and the UK.
Easy to cook with as well. We'll have it in stir fries. We'll have it in fajitas, for example.
But it does need to be cooked. Whereas tofu can technically be eaten raw, tempeh needs to be cooked because there are some live cultures on it that need to be killed off. You don't want to get a sore tummy.
Yeah, definitely not.
TVP is textured vegetable protein, as you've said. That normally comes dehydrated, which makes it incredibly shelf stable. It's great because you can just have a bag of that in the cupboard and that is there for emergencies or when you want something different.
Yeah, we have that in like bologneses, for example. Really good for that. Lasagna, perfect. Soya milks, soya yogurts, again, really, really good sources. And you tend to find that those are the ones that are fortified with like B12, for example, like we mentioned earlier. I always recommend if someone is transitioning, try a soya milk because it's actually got a decent amount of protein in it, and tend to find if you're looking to increase your protein intake, soya milks and soya yogurts are great for that.
Really good tip. Really good tip. I think we have done soy to death here.
Okay.
Shall we move on?
Yes.
Let's talk about gluten-based
Yeah.
next. So that is
Seitan, which is really good because we mentioned earlier that sometimes it's difficult to balance your macros, but seitan is actually pretty good for that because it's got a high protein content compared to carbs and fats. Obviously, the only issue with that is if you can't have gluten.
Why don't you explain what seitan is?
Why don't you explain what seitan is?
No. I think I've talked enough. You explain what seitan is.
You do it.
So basically, take flour, wheat flour, you wash all of the starch out of it. So that's the carbohydrate content. And what you're left with at the end is vital wheat gluten.
That's what I was going to say. I think we tried to grow it during lockdown, didn't we?
No.
Did we?
We
No.
tried to grow what? Wheat?
No,
A
not wheat.
wheat field out the back?
Did we not try to make seitan?
We tried to make seitan.
Aye, well, that's what I mean. Grow it, make it, see difference.
Yes, so while everybody during lockdown was starting off their sourdough and making banana bread, Alan apparently was planting a wheat field in our back garden.
we were in East End of Glasgow.
Okay, so yeah, seitan is made from vital wheat gluten, which is basically the protein in the wheat.
It's very versatile for cooking as well. Again, we would use it in like stir fries and fajitas. On its own, not the best. Add it in with some flavorings. It's great.
So what we've just discussed would be processed products.
Mhm.
And processed isn't necessarily a dirty word, because when you're cooking, that's essentially what you're doing. You're processing your own food. So seitan, tofu, tempeh are all processed foods. Let's move on to the non-processed sources of protein.
Yes, so legumes, beans, peas, chickpeas, lentils, really, really good source. However, the caveat to that is that they're going to be a little bit higher in carbohydrates. So again, it's just about that balancing of your macros.
Yeah. Even though I said we were moving away from processed foods, I should note that in recent years, you've been able to get legume-based pasta, which is brilliant because it's super, super high in protein. It keeps you filled, and you can replace it with traditional pasta. So things like lentil pasta, edamame pasta, and
Chickpea.
chickpea. Yes, that's the other one that I was about to say and hadn't forgotten.
Yeah, they're a really good source of protein. Again, if you want to try and increase your protein intake without really having to think about it. The only caveat to that I would say is they're usually a little bit more expensive than traditional pasta. So just keep that in mind if you're going to go and purchase them.
Yeah, definitely. Moving on from legumes, we've got nuts and seeds.
Protein content is there, but they're going to be higher in your fat content, which is good if you want to increase your omega-3s. But just be aware that, yeah, they will have protein in them, but they're definitely going to be higher in fat.
And we should probably stress as well, when we say fat, it's not a bad word either. Dietary fat is super important. Healthy fats are important in your diet. Again, there's nothing wrong with eating fat.
Yeah, fat doesn't make you fat, which is a misconception. Eating too many calories for the amount that you move is going to make you gain weight.
Absolutely. Dietary fat's super important for lots of things like hormone production and regulation, for different functions within your body. And your brain uses quite a lot of fats and lipids and things like that as well. So don't be scared of healthy dietary fats.
All right, let's talk about grains. So things like quinoa and oats, they are brilliant for protein, especially quinoa because it actually has all your essential amino acids.
Yeah, it's got a really good balanced amino profile. Oats are surprisingly higher in protein than you would think. And they make a really good breakfast choice
Yeah.
for that reason.
And also, can I just say as well that marketing, if you see something as high protein, it might not actually have as much protein in it as you actually think it does. So check the backs of labels, because
Absolutely.
something that isn't advertised as high protein might actually have more in it. And again, those products tend to be a little bit more expensive. So just be mindful of that as well.
When you see high protein on a label, that is not nutritional advice. That is a marketing measure. It's just something they want to do to help sell that. Okay, shall we talk about then the last thing that we want to talk about in this section, which is protein powder?
Yeah, absolutely. Protein powders are great. They're not like the holy grail of getting your protein in. They're good if you want to supplement your protein intake. If you find that, and this is also on a non-plant-based diet as well, if you find that you're not quite hitting your protein target, protein shakes are great to have. Now, ideally, you want to be eating food as protein sources because your body works harder to break that down, which means you feel fuller for longer. So we would probably recommend maybe one, maximum of two protein shakes or protein scoops a day, really.
So people will probably be used to whey protein, which is a milk byproduct, and that is just what a lot of people would think of when they think of protein powder. There are a lot more options now than there used to be for plant-based proteins, and there's a lot more variety out there. So things like hemp and brown rice and pea protein, soy protein, all these things are out there. There are also products which blend those protein sources together. And again, as we've spoken about, that means that those protein powders will have a more balanced amino profile too. So it's worth looking into, shopping around and seeing what maybe is best for you.
Yeah, we used to use Protein and the Protein Works when we were in the UK. And the reason we went with those is we found the flavour that we liked, and we found one that mixed well, because sometimes they don't mix that great. So it's going to be a bit of trial and error. Don't get an unflavoured one. I'll recommend that straight away. Get something that you're going to enjoy.
Definitely. And I would say to people, if you have tried a plant-based protein powder in the past and you thought it wasn't nice and it was gritty and that is not reflective of all plant-based protein powders. That is just the one that you tried was crap.
Yeah, exactly. And just extra tip, if you're making overnight oats, scoop of protein powder, mix with your oats, you're going to then bump up that amount of protein that you're having. And protein first thing in the day, perfect.
I think we have talked about protein sources today. What I would say is if anybody is tuning into this and has any questions, feel free to get in touch with us.
Aye, absolutely.
You can drop us an email, podcast@outlift.ing, and we'll be happy to answer.
Absolutely. Or send us a message on Instagram at outlift.ing.
I'm going to give a bonus tip before we actually do our 10 official tips. It's something I forgot to say when we were talking about soy. But with tofu, you can infuse tofu with a lot of flavor, but you need to get the moisture out of it first. It generally comes packed in water. You need to squeeze all that water out. And it's only then that the tofu can really absorb other fluids when you're cooking and really get the flavor into it. So that's a good tip. We used to have a tofu press.
Do you know what? I wasn't sure if you were going to mention it or not, and I'm glad you did, because our friends bought us one for our wedding, and Foxy, who's the straightest guy ever, but the coolest guy ever, was like, why the f*** are we buying them a tofu press for their wedding? Now, that wasn't the wedding gift, it was just part of a whole thing that they gave us, and we did feel very middle class.
Yeah. It's something we used every single day, though. It was a really practical item for us because up to then, our method for getting the moisture out of tofu involved a plate, a tea towel, and lots of heavy cookbooks precariously stacked on top. And there were quite a few times you would hear things crash down in the kitchen and you'd have to run in and find it all fallen over. So the tofu press eliminates that.
Yeah. I would say maybe don't invest in one if you don't think you're going to stick to it. But if you think you're going to continue to be plant-based, definitely get one. They're great.
Yeah, definitely. Just gets all the moisture out, works a treat. Shall we give our official top 10 tips then?
Let's do it.
Let's go. Okay, we have promised it from the start of the show, and here are our top 10 tips for anybody going plant-based for the first time. Alan, start us off with number 1.
Number 1, avoid the perfectionism trap. If you end up eating something with an animal product in it accidentally, don't worry about it. We did that at the start as well.
Number 2, have Happy Cow in hand. This is not an advert for it, but it's something that we have used extensively. The Happy Cow app is brilliant, especially if you're traveling, because it has thousands of restaurants and shops and anywhere that you can get plant-based food.
Number 3, don't stress over may contain. Unless you've got a severe allergy, don't worry about the may contain labels. They're just a cross-contamination warning, not an ingredient list.
Number 4, watch out for bold ingredients. The fastest way to figure out if something is not plant-based is to look out for the bold ingredients on the back. That'll help you rule something out in about 5 seconds, but be aware that you still will need to read the full ingredient list to check if there are any non-allergen animal products.
Number 5, take care with fibre. If you increase your fibre intake too rapidly, you might end up feeling a bit bloated. So make sure that you're drinking water to help digest that fibre.
Number 6, add umami. Make plant-based meals absolutely mouth-watering by adding umami flavor. You can do that with ingredients like miso paste, nutritional yeast, and Marmite, and it'll really give your food an incredible savory kick.
Number 7, research substitutes. To stop you getting stuck in the kitchen, research some plant-based swaps. So for example, how to make an egg substitute with flaxseed.
Number 8, beware ultra-processed foods. A plant-based label doesn't always mean that something is going to be healthy. There are lots of ultra-processed foods on the market now. They're okay in moderation, but if you're going plant-based for the health benefits, just be careful that you don't cancel them out.
Number 9, look out for added sugar. A lot of the popular plant-based milks out there have added sugar in them. So take your time, read the labels, and research some alternative options.
And finally, number 10, curate your feed. When you first go plant-based, it's really difficult to know what you can and can't eat. Follow social media accounts like Accidentally Vegan to stay updated on new plant-based products on the supermarket shelves. Thanks very much for tuning in. Hopefully you found that interesting and there was some useful information there. We're not done though. We have got one more thing for you, and it's a freebie. You can download the Outlifting Veganuary High Protein Recipe book right now. There is a link in the description or the show notes where you can get that absolutely free. It's our gift to you. As ever, thank you very much for tuning in. Remember, Outlifting Lounge is just part of what we do. Alan and I run Outlifting, and it's almost a year old. I can't believe I'm saying that. It is a service specifically for gay, bi, and trans guys who want to change their bodies while they build unstoppable confidence. We do that through personalized workout plans, through bespoke nutrition, through accountability coaching, through community training, the whole lot. We offer so much. If you think that is the kind of thing for you and you like what we do, please get in touch. We would love to hear from you. We can set up a free discovery call and chat with you on video about your needs, and you can figure out whether we are a right fit for you or not. We'd love to help, so get in touch. You can check us out on our website, that is outlift.ing, and you can click on the button there to set up your discovery call.
That's us for now, but don't forget we have new episodes every Sunday, and you can catch us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music.
Until next time, over and outlifting.